Alrighty?
Yep.
All right. So now we're going to install a Peep sight. I'm going to show you the way you can do it in a press, and if you have this little separator in here, which does come in most strings now, this is showing you where half of the strands are. You can get it in here without pressing it. But first I'll show you the press. So we've taken the pressure off, pull it apart, and that's exactly half of the strands on one side or the other side. You would in turn set your Peep in there, like so. Then you can take the pressure back off. You've inserted your Peep into your string. It's really important that you have exactly half of the strands on each side. If you don't, when you draw it back, the Peep will turn left or turn right because there's more weight on one side than the other. So that's super important. But for today, since a decent amount of you don't have a bow press, if you get your bow, you haven't put a Peep in it, or a new string, and it's just got this little tail in it, I'll show you how to get your Peep in there without pressing it. So we're gonna repress it, take the Peep out, set it back down, take it out of the press. I'm gonna have Dan draw it back for me. So just stand back here for me, draw it all the way back, and so hold your Peep in your hand. Ooh, first pop of the day.
What is this?
Oh, it's 70. So it takes enough pressure off of the string, as long as your friend can hold it back and not let it down while your finger's in it, you can pull the string apart. Put your Peep in, set the bow back down.
Wow.
You've now got your Peep in your string in the middle of it and can tie it in without the need of a bow press. But since we have a press, we're just going to put it right back in and hold it steady so it makes it easier. Most of the time for tying servings and things of that nature, whether it's a loop or a Peep, we'll actually put it in a bow vise, but it's a little easier to get a shot of it here and it's all nice and flat, so we're going to use that. But we typically do put bows in vices to do these things, but because if you press on this too much, it makes everything soft and you want to keep tension on the string. So now that we've got the Peep in there, we don't need this little divider anymore. So be very careful, and you can untie it or cut it out. Just make sure you don't hit the string material. Don't need that guy anymore. So getting the Peep height set is an individual setting. So you need to draw your bow back, anchor into your anchor point, get your head set, and have somebody move the Peep up and down to where it's correct for your facial structure. We're just going to assume where it is right now is good so we can tie it in, but that would be a step you'd want to take before you just threw your Peep in there and tied it up.
So what we usually do here is you'll have me pull back and you'll say up or down.
Yeah.
Actually, you've adjusted it while it's full draw. Do you recommend that, or do you?
As long as you have two people, you can, because once again, when you draw the bow back, there's only about 15 to 20 pounds of pressure on the string, so it's actually pretty soft. It's actually easier to move it at draw than at rest because it's got a lot of load on it here. There's actually, you couldn't pull this string apart without it being at draw to get that Peep in there. You draw it back to remove the pressure from it.
Got it.
So it is easier to do it up top. All right, so now once again, using number 4 nylon.
What
probably
would you
about
say the most common
3
Peep
feet
is coming out of your doors for all your bows? Like
for us, 1/4 inch is really common. The sight housings are really big nowadays. They're not small, so if you're trying to center on your sight housing, which most people are, you need a very large Peep to do it. So we typically use 1/4 inch. We use exclusively Radical Archery Designs Peeps. Real common one out there is the G5 Meta Peep.
Yeah.
And it's a good Peep too. It's magnesium. These are machined aluminum. I think they're a little tougher. So I tend to gravitate towards those, but the G5 Meta Peep, which looks exactly the same, is also a really good way to go. No problems there. And Fletcher True Peep. They're all very similar. These just have a little better machine work and they're a little more rounded. So I've seen a lot of strings over the years get cut because there's hard edges on their Peep. So I tend to gravitate to whatever looks like it's the smoothest.
Yeah.
So it's less likely that when you're moving this up or down to try to get it to where you want it, you don't damage the strands. All right. So the string is twisted in this direction, or if you look down at the end of it, I call it clockwise. Most strings are twisted in that direction. When you're serving, you just simply want to make sure you're twisting your serving in the same direction that your string is twisted. And the reason for that is if you're twisting in the opposite direction and you make an adjustment on the length of your string, you untwist it or twist it because it's stretched out and you're trying to get it back to the original length. If your serving's twisted in an opposite direction, your serving will go loose. So if you want to stay snug, always twist the same direction your strands are twisted, which on most strings is clockwise if you look down from one end looking out. So we're going to serve clockwise. I'm just going to wrap over the top of this piece of material. It's literally not any more complicated than that. You just start making smooth wraps over the top of the original piece of material. On this type of serving, I like to do about 10 counts. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So you went.
I give it a good
How far
pull.
north of this peep did you go?
Oh, what's that? About an inch, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I try to go. I look at where the string's separated at.
Yeah.
And try to go 1/4 to a 1/2 inch past that.
Copy.
So, and then I'll grab it and pull on it, and you can kind of see it compress, right? And then I'll take this excess piece. Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
So I'll take this extra piece, lay it back here, and then wrap again. So I'm no longer wrapping on the original end of the material. And then I'll wrap up until I get to the separation point, which is getting pretty close. So I kind of want to leave this separation as close to natural as I can. I don't want to compress it more or less because I just basically trying to get the peep to not move on its own.
Yeah.
If I cinch this up too tight, it'll push the serving out and it may cause the peep to move. So now that we're to that point, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, but I'm only going to come up one side. So I'm going to go up this side of the peep till I get to here. And this I put a little spacing in, and I put a little moisture on the end of that material so it doesn't fray out and get too big. Then give it a tug to make sure it's snug. Once you do that, probably go about 10 times up here. We leave a little gap in it, it's not hurting anything. You're not trying to, once again, hold the material, you're just trying to get the peep to stay still. So we're simply trying to get up to here to where we can wrap around the peep. And I like to cut my serving material long when I'm doing this, so nothing's more frustrating than getting 7/8 of the way done and you ran out of material. I'd rather have an extra foot that I threw away than
so how much
running out.
length did you cut it for, do you think?
Oh, I was probably around 3 feet.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, which probably seems like a lot to do an inch and a half of serving, but it's easier to work with and I know I'm not gonna run out. So now I'm up to the peep, and if you heard that little pop, I pulled it into the groove right here to where it tucked underneath it. You can probably see that better there. And now I'm going to keep wrapping in the same direction. Mind you, I'm going clockwise the whole time, and go around the peep a couple of times until I get to the other side of it. I think that was 3 or 3.5, something like that. So and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tuck in underneath the other side. Once you've done that, you don't have to keep pressure on. So if you watch, I'm going to pull it up and it pulled underneath. I can let go of it and it's got all the tension on it already. It's not going to let go. So now I'm going to come back down the other side with the exact same thing as I did here. The number of wraps is not massively critical. The only really number that matters is that when you're doing the starting and the ending finish, you get at least 8 or 9 wraps. Yeah, starting to fray out a little bit. So that's what, 5, probably about 3 more-ish will get us down there. I think 1 more will look good. Okay, now just wrap over the whole material again. I usually like to do 3 loose or so, and then give it a tug. And then count about 3, 4, 5 more, somewhere around there. I think I'm just gonna stop at 3. Now, once you've gotten your end wet, it'll try to catch like that.
Got it.
So this is the finish, and this is where people tend to get confused. So you're gonna come down about 6 inches or so and make a loop, put it over the top of your string and under and back around. So we're basically wrapping back the opposite direction toward the peep. We're gonna do 10 of those. And then you're gonna grab your end piece, lay it down flat, and as you wrap over it here, it's gonna take away from the other end where you started at. Keep tension on it, don't let it go loose. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to where all the wraps are taken out. Then you grab your end piece and slowly pull it. Keep tension on it. Pinch it with your fingers so you can get your finger out of there until it comes all the way through. You're almost done. Long nose, needle nose pliers. Pinch it, wrap around it 1 or 2, and just give it a tug. Don't go crazy with it because you can break this material under tension, but enough pressure that you'll feel it slide and you'll feel it start to get pretty tight. And that one's already pretty tight from my fingers. So, same thing like with the soft knots. Leave about 1/8 to 1/4. Dump your scrap. Melt the end. I lick my thumb and push it on it to flatten it out so there's not a ball there, and so I don't burn myself, because that's hot plastic basically. And voila, that's how you do a peep.
Guys, thanks for watching this ElkShape YouTube. This is your channel, so what we want to do now is in the comments below, tell us what you think. Did we go too fast? Did we go too slow? What else technical archery do you want to learn? This is huge for me because I get to edit this and watch this over and over and really start to learn and then go get some reps. So I'm pumped. I appreciate your time. You're an expert. But guys, post in the comments below what else do you want to learn. I mean, it's endless, but Josh is a wealth of knowledge and generous with his time. I got him once a week, so I'm going to really tap into him, and you guys are going to tap into him. Check out podiumarcher.com, and then also you can find it on eBay and get bear bows, some accessories. Even if you're really lazy, you can send them your specs and they'll tune the bow here. And this is also where I have my strings made. Podium Archer Strings, you've seen the name, that's this company right here. So if you're interested, I know the guys coming to the ElkShape camp are getting their strings done. You can ship your bow here, have your strings made, and you should do that at least once every 2 years, especially if you hunt rough country and your strings are getting beat up. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.